So it wouldn't be, a good panel if we didn't talk about measurement, where I know there's going to be different schools of thought here. But, when we think about measurement, right, there's so many different business models. There's so much to go beyond just adding up sort of total audiences. And most of what we're spending our time talking about has not been just how many. It's been, sort of how do viewers find things, well beyond that. So I'd be curious in terms of what are some more general thoughts on measurement? Can it be one stop fits all? How do you sort of manage, and how do we, as we work with different measurement vendors, et cetera, and balance third-party measurement versus first-party measurement? I know there's some strong opinions here, so whoever wants to go for it first.
I definitely have some strong opinions about that. So there are so many layers to measurement, in particular, I think, in the fields that we are working in, because there's, on the one hand, how do I make sure that I have all of the information to build and maintain a product that is a great customer experience? So that is a level of granularity that really means that, okay, is this button working, and how many people are using it, how are they using it? So that's a level of granularity that no advertiser ever wants to be exposed to unless I sell a sponsorship associated with it. Then there's that level of, okay, my senior executives want to understand how big is their footprint, or how certain content performing. That's the other layer of measurement. And then you have the third level of measurement, and that is ultimately, what do I want to have in terms of measurement that I can expose externally, and that can be syndicated, and where a multitude of different businesses can ultimately really be viewed through a similar lens in that form. So that's the three different layers.
Their thoughts on this from a content or an ad perspective? Because I think we'll look at
Julie.
Julie.
I have a lot of thoughts. Yeah. So Lisa knows this. So I would say our philosophy at Hulu has been, we really do look at it the same way. There's content measurement, and then there's measurement they need to do for advertisers. And we have those two different streams that we sort of work towards too. We have a ton of data that tells us how people are watching and what they're watching. And like I said before, we just don't assess content in the same way that I think traditionally has been assessed on television. So things like demos, might not matter as much, or even like complete reach. And our first-party data tells us a lot, but it doesn't tell us how many people are actually sitting in front of the TV when that show is on or when that ad is running. And what we know is that we needed to service our advertising partners first by providing them with the tools they need to make sure that they understand how their media is resonating on Hulu through whatever KPI they're trying to measure against. So when that was easy to do on desktop back in the day, and then mobile phones came along, and then everything sort of switched to living room. So 80% of our viewing happens on a television set through something connected to the TV. And working with that technology is definitely a lot harder than back in like the days of cookies. So we also realize, though, that's just within Hulu walls, and what every advertiser wants is the ability to holistically measure, or at least holistically plan. And I support Hulu as a marketer as well, so we have these same measurement challenges that our clients have. So we are completely interested in being included in the planning tools that exist in the ecosystem, but I will tell you right now, it is not easy. So we are talking about ways to build, but also participate in some third parties, because up until now, we've had a really healthy business, and continuing without having a planning tool. But we hear this, I get it, like I'm not going to put $100 million on Hulu, and please do, without really understanding like what's my reach and frequency going to be, or how am I already hitting all these people someplace else? And that's a universal problem in the media landscape, but we can help solve for it, at least in the world of connected TV, because we have a huge footprint there, and in relation to at least linear TV. And then the Facebooks and the Googles at some point will have to get on board somehow, or not. Or, so we sort of always toe that line between, are we a walled garden? Are we participating in the ecosystem? And we're really both. And we're just trying to make sure that we create all the capabilities and solutions necessary to keep advertisers understanding how effective their media is when it runs on Hulu. And when it comes to content measurement, I sort of put it lower on the priority list, because we know what our content does. And if there's a day when everybody wants to throw their stuff into one place, and we can all agree on some sort of third-party measurement for content, then maybe we'll participate. But that's an ongoing debate.
Well, and I think sorry, I'm going to answer a question here, but as thinking about this also in the ecosystem of agencies and profit participants, and sort of all the people that are on the content monetization side, right? Some transparency thing is building, so it will have to evolve to get to something where there are some some sort of level
Some
playing field
standards,
so that
yeah, for
everybody's
sure.
not just using, what they have on hand and nothing agrees.
Yeah.
I also don't believe that those measurement frameworks should be really fully individual pieces. They should really fold together at some point. And obviously, I do understand that at the moment, you need to go where the money is. I mean, I'm in the lucky position that I'm working in a healthy SWOT business. So yes, we also have an advertising component because we have limited commercial subscription offerings, but we also have commercial-free offerings in that form. So there's also the subscription component where the monetization plays also a little bit of a different role. But it is definitely one of those areas where I want to be part of an ecosystem where we can be part of that syndicated measurement conversation, because I cannot do measurement all purely on my own, because then it will not function in the marketplace out there. So I definitely would want to see an ecosystem where we can also openly talk about measurement on all levels and openly in that form without being punished by a multitude of
To quote
aggressive
someone, and I don't know if he's
advertisers.
still here, but we both know Artie, right? Sort of measurement, it's sort of, it's a team
It's
sport.
a team sport.
Right.
He's right there. I'd also add to the co-viewing thing because I think I mentioned it before. We don't know who's sitting in front of the TV. The only way to really get at that is to work with a third party who has a panel, Nielsen Comscore. We shifted an entire currency, and it took us 3 years to get agencies aligned. I mean, it's not easy to change a currency in this business. The way that over-the-top viewing, ad serving had been counting was the same way as a desktop or a mobile device. Ad served to a screen, that's what you pay for. And there could be 4 people sitting in front of that screen. You don't know who they are. So we made this journey. It was a long one of working with both Nielsen and Comscore. It's their methodology. It's modeled. It is based on the panel. It's based on data. It's based on our first-party data. It's based on household composition data. It's pretty complicated, but it works. We just had to take a long road to get the industry to sort of come around to accepting that as currency, but it now others are leveraging it, and it does allow advertisers to understand how it's television. Right? Hulu is television commercials running on a television screen in a television show. It should look the same way as linear TV in terms of audience metrics, and it should be comparable in some way, and the only way to do that is to apply those types of modeling and data solutions.